Dreamers Welcome Podcast. We are back. I feel good. I feel great, ladies and gentlemen. I go by CEO PESO, blessed and highly favored. I have somebody, y'all see who he is. I reached out. He gave me the blessing. And I'm being honest, bro, because he's the innovator of the city. I'd be a fucking lie if he didn't motivate me when I was doing my mixtapes. Hearing what he was doing, mimicking his shit. Him and Mo, RP Mo. He's a fucking legend. And if you fucking deny it, you fucking crazy. And I own it. I stand on it. Rewind it if you don't fucking believe it.
I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate you.
Please introduce yourself for these people, man.
I go by name of DJ SKNO of the Worldwide Core DJs out of Dayton, Ohio, Universal Zulu Nation, so on and so on. I'm not going to break all the titles down, but you know how it goes down. I appreciate you for having me here, man.
Brother.
Yes, sir.
Very, very always welcome in the Dreamer's Den, man. How are you feeling, man?
I'm great, man. I'm great. How about you?
I'm good, man. Been blessed to be traveling. Just got back in town, and you know, like we was talking before, man. Just got some good projects coming up. And
yeah, I see you doing big things, man. I mean, the city needs to show you more love. I think they need to do that, man. There's some people that they see making major moves, and the city just don't give you the props. But then when you go state to state, they show you love like you just a big celebrity. I've never understood that about your hometown.
Even, man, I've done work out the country. Like, I've done work plenty of places, man. And like I said, like, bro, if you shouts out to the other people who get y'all accolades and y'all notability or whatever, and same for you. And it's right. Just like, I don't understand why people don't, like you said it, you was like, somebody got to interview me. I'm like, I don't know why
think somebody should interview you. Maybe I'll do the interview.
I'm with it.
Look, because I've been seeing you making these moves. You've been doing these things with these major celebrities and doing major movie screenings and things like that. But it's like, why isn't anybody interviewing PESO? Like,
why not? Somebody want to interview me? I'm in town more than you think. I just bounce around a lot. Come on now.
Right. That's like me. I travel a lot, but I'm here.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just reach out. You know, I got a story to tell. I got some motivational things to tell y'all people, man. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to go and beg for somebody to interview me. You know?
I'm definitely not.
Yeah, if they come, they come. You know what I mean? Man, so, man, we got a lot to discuss, man. First,
let's get it.
I always just start off with, man, where was you born and raised, and just how was it growing up, like where you was born and raised at, man? How was you as a youngin'?
I was born and raised in Dayton, Ohio on Bancroft till I was 5 years old. At 5 years old, I moved to Dayton View, which is where I grew up at, so I represent the View, Dayton View. I'm a son of a pastor of a church. I'm the oldest of 8 kids, 5 boys, 3 girls. My mother and father were still living until my father passed away at the age of 89. My mom passed away a couple of years ago.
Condolences.
Yeah, at the age of 80. At the age of 80. And they were together for over 50 years. So
that's a blessing. Man, that's that real old school love.
Yeah, so
for sure.
We grew up in the Church of God in Christ. We lived a very strict life. We weren't allowed to do a lot of stuff that regular kids might get to do, like certain simple things, like go out and ride a bike, things like that. We just weren't allowed to do that. So
really, I couldn't just go out and play.
Man, I can't ride a bike to this day.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, and people think I can't drive, but I drive. So.
It's never too late.
Don't be shocked when you see me. I do drive.
You can still learn how to ride a bike, man. It's never too late. I mean,
I'm cool. I don't have to ride a bike. Yeah, that falling now when you're growing up, stuff feels slow.
I got that out the way early, man.
Yeah.
But man, keep going on bad. So
yeah, like I've always wanted to skate. I've never skated, but I always went to the skating rink.
Nah, I never got into skating. They be taking too many L's, man.
Yeah, they take them L's that I can't afford to take them now.
Yeah, nah. So man, so yeah, definitely family orientated upbringing. That's dope.
Yes,
man,
sir.
What was damn? I mean, so man, that's a crazy story we're gonna get into. But so, what was your hobbies then? Like, what was it? Was you in the sports or like?
I used
what
to draw. I like martial arts. I wasn't allowed to play sports. I mean, in high school, I've had the track coach come to the house and ask my parents twice if I could run track. Of course, that was a no. I was allowed to play in the orchestra, which was a city orchestra, but that was only one concert. We practiced all year long for one concert. I wanted to play in the marching band. I wasn't allowed to do that because then you would be able to go to the football games and all that stuff, which I wasn't allowed to play or, do any of that. My parents were just real strict. My dad has a military background in the Army and the Air Force. He retired from the Air Force. So you can imagine that being...
I mean, was that being pushed on you? Like, go to the Army or the Air Force or anything?
Not at all. No. So you can imagine, though, how strict the discipline was.
For sure. Beds made early, mornings, whatever. Yeah.
No joke.
I already know. So, all right, that just brings in my curiosity. Like, how did you get, how'd you get the DJ? Like, how did you...
So...
Like what, okay, first, what was your first, just vibe of what is this and I need to know how to do it. What was your first memory of that?
So I was allowed to have a little clock radio in my room, but it mainly stayed on a gospel radio station.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there were times that I'd be like, well, let me turn this station and see what else is on. So at the time it was like WDAO and WBLZ, and they were kind of battling with each other. As far as, different formats, different music. And I liked the music that I heard, and I've always liked music. I played trumpet, so I've liked music. But my dad had this stereo component downstairs. It's the kind that you raise up the top lid and the records stack up and they drop down. And I seen, different video. At the time, it was VHS back then, of DJs DJing. And I tried to mimic that on his stereo. So I would play with knobs.
Okay, I
would play with knobs and things like that, just learning how to scratch. Of course, it wasn't direct drive like we use now. It was belt driven. So, of course, the belt would come off and I had to put it back on. I ended up breaking the needle on there, which my parents didn't know until later on in life. I broke the needle on there, which is why the stereo stopped working.
But they never knew you. Jesus, you was really
Okay. And then I snuck out the house several times. There was a DJ that I give a lot of credit for me learning how to DJ too. His name was Mark Jones, the Hustler. The Hustler used to DJ at the Palladium. He used to have several clubs here, Mr. J's, Graffiti, Xeons, several clubs here. But I used to go to the club at night, watch him DJ, try to mimic what I saw him do at the club back at home, which is how I eventually taught myself how to DJ. So I give the Hustler, a lot of credit for what I do today. Him along with Mixmaster Ice from UTFO, who is a great friend of mine. He's a, great mentor to me. So them two are really, really big in my life as far as learning how to DJ.
That's interesting because, I was gonna ask you, how did you teach yourself? Because now we got YouTube and whatever the case is, but you literally was just
there was no YouTube.
Then. That's what I'm saying. So you was just seeing it and going home and just
and so people that see me DJ now kind of look at me like, wait, how are you DJing like that? Because I DJ differently. A typical DJ mixer has up and downs for volumes on either channel and a fader. Well, the mixers that I have switches that go back and right and left. And my left hand is kind of weak, but my right hand is very strong. So I would use the switches at top to do some of the fader motions unless I do beat juggling, which I would use a fader for, which I also had to teach myself how to do that because I started watching VHS video of DMC battles. And I got into that, quick mixing back and forth, beat juggling, things like that. Hip hop just became very, very influential in what I was doing.
Yeah, because you saying you were studying VHS tapes. So that means it was a lot of rewind, see what they doing, go back and mimic it, and then and that's dope just because it's that form of learning, to me, is some of the best shit ever. When I started engineering, I would that's funny. I would listen to Mo Beats mixes or whatever, or a Jeezy song, and then okay, it sounded like the that sound more crisp or the bass is hitting harder.
So Mo Beats, which was one of my best, or he was my best friend.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to him.
Rest in peace, Mo.
He is the reason why I kind of have this ear that I have today when I listen to people's music. It's still people to this day that'll be like, yo, man, check this out. Let me know what you think about it. And I'd be like, hey, man, it needs to be mixed and mastered. It's just raw, like, and they'll be like, what you mean? I'd be like, it sounds like you just recorded it in your basement. You can hear all kinds of stuff that's not supposed to be there. Stuff isn't turned up the way it's supposed to. And that's from years and years of being around Mo B, who had this, he had a different ear of hearing things. And a lot of people don't understand that mixing is different than mastering.
Yep.
So,
and you know what raw is. They don't even know the compressions or none of that.
Yeah. They don't know a lot of that stuff. Or some people use compression and compress everything and not realize
compress the bass to the song. Yeah. Man, Mo, I remember Mo, he gave me a quick little breakdown, and I ain't gonna lie, it hurt my feelings just a little bit, but I was smart enough to know, like, okay, he just critiquing me. He like, but he would tell you in the smoothest form, like, yeah, you know, I would have turned the highs up a little bit, and I'm like, damn, he going in on my stuff right now. But
he always did constructive criticism. It wasn't like that bash you type.
Nah, not at all. But I was just young and, you know, a small ego at the time, but I was still listening.
Right.
Because, you know, Mo was the hottest. If you wasn't going out there on, what was that, Dryden?
Yeah, on Dryden. And it was called The Lab at first.
Right.
And then eventually it changed into Raise the Bar in the end. And then Raise the Bar moved to the location where it is right now off of
Dixie.
Dixie, yes.
Yep. Man, yeah, still thriving, RP Mo. While we on the subject of Mo, how did y'all meet?
So I know a guy named Art that we used to be in the same group together called Tomb. And actually he took me to Mo's house, and Mo had a studio in his basement. So we went down there, and that's where I actually first met Mo. And for some reason that day we clicked, and we have been friends ever since. Like,
God given.
Yeah, it was just natural. I couldn't relive that with somebody else, I don't think, ever again.
Yeah, that's especially when it's musically inclined. This is like, I've did that with a lot of people. Like, I got friends over 20 years now just meeting off of this at my grandma's garage. Like, it just clicked. Like,
it's been times when, like, everybody has a time when they might be down on luck. It's been times where I've had to stay with Mo, or, you know, things like that. And Mo has helped me out, and then I've helped him out when he's needed things. So it's just like, we just grew to be like, kind of like brothers.
Really. Yeah, instantly though. Yeah. Instant connection. Man, RP Mo, I love you, bro. He taught me a lot. Man, all right, so back to the early process of the DJing. How'd you start, like, getting out? Like, did you start doing parties, or what was your first, like?
So my first real party, I didn't have my own equipment, so I had to borrow somebody's equipment. And it was two different turntables. One Sharp turntable, belt driven. I don't know if you know about they used to have a appliance store called Rex on Salem Avenue.
Not hit.
So they had a Sharp turntable and a Technique 1700 turntable. Definitely don't match. The Sharp turntable was a belt drive. One was a automatic driven. So I had to learn to basically do what I needed to do on those two turntables on the spur of the moment.
Hey, whew.
Yeah. I brought them
that
to the house.
The champion, or are you weak?
I brought them to the house, and I brought some speakers to the house. Of course, my mom and dad, especially my mom, was not happy. What are you doing with this here? How did you get it here? What do you think you're about to do? And she tried to throw all kinds of curves so I wouldn't be able to DJ this event. And of course, I always snuck out. Yeah. So I always did. So I DJ'd this event. One of the worst events in my life.
Why is that?
Because I really didn't know what I was doing. Like, as far as
you
picking songs and all that stuff, I didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I had a few records, but, you know, people was asking for records that I didn't have or didn't know and stuff like that. So after that event, that kind of put like this foot down on me. Like, you doing the skills, but you need to get up on the whole vibe of studying the craft. Like, you need
tighten up.
Yeah, you need to.
Yeah.
So then after that, I did a couple of gigs on the street. I did a big house party that was it was a good house party, but it had a lot of drama, and it was like 300 dudes there, only 20 females, and of course that was
an off ratio.
Yeah, that just wasn't a good vibe at all. So that's one reason I don't do house parties to this day, because that is one memory I cannot get out of my head.
Yo, but all right, so how the hell was you sneaking out? And then, because back then you had to sneak out with your turntables, your speakers, and everything.
So when I was sneaking out, most times it was to watch the Hustler DJ. So by the time I got to, like I ran away from home like in 83 at one time. People don't know that. So I ran away and then came back because that's how strict my parents were. They wouldn't let me do anything.
So it was driving you crazy.
Oh man, it was really driving me crazy. And then breakdancing came out, and that kind of like, that elevated everything. It was like,
it's too intense. Yeah, like I can't be in the crib.
Breakdancing too, so it was just like,
damn, man. Yo, so because man, that's crazy. You grew up in the era of like everything is like being created and like getting like in tune or whatever, man. So like, how was that feeling, bro? Like do you remember it vividly? Like how was it? Like just
definitely vividly. Like so. Now today we have social media. As soon as somebody puts something on social media, it's around the whole world. Back then it was like they called them fads back then. You see somebody doing something slowly, 2 or 3 people might start doing it, then 20 people, then it was a process that grew slowly. So, I started breakdancing. I learned who several groups were in the city. We had Chain Reaction, who was a big group here, Masterclass, PSL. We had a lot of individuals individually that had big names as far as breakdancing. And then I started going to the breakdancing contest, the Michael Jackson contest, where people like Tony Wright and Tommy Wright would win. And back then the arcade was open to having different things like that. That like was downtown? My last, yes, the arcade downtown was the last real big breakdancing contest that I went to in this city. The convention center had the last Michael Jackson big contest. When I say Michael Jackson, I mean dance contest. Because back then they used to do big events like that. So we had talent shows back then as well. So we did the talent show. The last one that I was at Patterson Co-op. It was different schools that had different talent all came together at Patterson Co-op to showcase their talent.
Man, so you definitely just seen Dayton just thrive. Like you mentioned in the arcade and Salem and all of that. So is it crazy just seeing the difference of how Dayton was then and now?
Yeah, so back then Dayton had a mall. We had the Salem
Mall.
We had game rooms. We had the real Godfather's Pizza that was kind of different from this Godfather's Pizza, but we had an arcade right beside it. We had arcade in the mall. We had
Consumer Square.
We had real clubs. We had clubs, not bars that they call clubs.
Right. I be telling people like we have no clubs at this point.
Actually party buildings, like the Palladium is one of the spots. The first spots that I got to DJ in was the Palladium. We had the Underground, we had Marables, we had the Gold Dust, we had the Duke's Club, which is now what people call the K9. Man, we had a lot of spots. We don't have these spots now.
And you was DJing at a lot of these spots too? Yeah. So yeah, man. So I don't know if you can answer this question, but when it was like Roger Troutman and Lakeside, and that era of Dayton and this industry moment that we had, like, do you remember any memories of that? Just how?
So Roger had a studio on Salem Avenue, and I was kind of, I should say, I didn't really have the knowledge I do about the music game as I do today. So I said one day I'm gonna just go up there and just see if I can get a job there.
Yeah.
Of course I didn't know what to do. I figured, hey, somebody
what the hell?
Can teach me. So I went up there and I met and I ran into a secretary that I don't remember who it was. They had a secretary at the front desk. I got in there. Of course, I got turned away. And that was my first experience with the studio. Then I used to work at Elder Beerman on Siebenthaler back in the day.
In the
Roger
plaza.
used to shop there for his fur coats. So he came in there one day and I'm walking down the thing and I introduced myself to him. And he was pretty cool. So, I see him every now and then shortly before he passed, we happened to be on the same flight to LA. And the seat that I was in was too small for my legs. So they put me in first class because it still had an empty seat. There's Roger.
Right on the next row.
Right across the aisle from me.
Yeah. Damn.
So we got to talk on that flight. That was the first like major conversation I had while having some knowledge of music. And then shortly after that, he passed away. Yeah, damn. But that's my memory of Roger. As far as, I always heard his music. I have all his albums and all the group's albums and things like that. But that is my biggest and closest memory to the vibe of that.
Yeah, damn, I love that story, man. So what about I think this is the time when I started like learning dating music. I remember, who was it? What did Doc Frank go by? Was it
I Kill?
I remember seeing, like, was it y'all in the newspaper or him and Mo Beats?
So they had I Kill as the big picture on the front page of the newspaper. Then they had Mo Beats, and then they had Tomb, which is a group that I was in.
Yo, somebody told me to ask you about Tomb. They said, because you was rapping, right?
No, I was DJing.
Oh, but he was like, asked about Tomb. Shouts out to
yeah. So that's the organization of Mad Beats. And Tomb really was 4 groups: Dark Side, Devious, Forbidden Fruits, and The Naturalists. The main groups were Dark Side and Devious.
Okay.
So the main rapper was Eclipse, Art, which it goes by Force, and then they had Christ, and then we had Ty. But that was a group I DJ'd for, and we moved on from that, and then eventually years later I started DJing for a group called 275 with
Shouts out to Marco. Yeah. I was gonna ask you that too, just that era of because that's where I like DeMarco with 275 was in what was that, The Source or Double XL or
yeah, we was in both.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So explain that time frame of like when dating was getting like more industry.
Let me go back to the Tomb era. Okay, so I was on 94.5 The Beat here in Dayton, Ohio.
You had a live show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was DJing the Thunderstorm hip hop show, but when I say DJing, we had live DJs that play records on the radio, but we had no format. The operation manager did not control what we played as long as it was clean. So on that show, I got in my head, well, there's a few artists here in the city that I think sound good. What if I start mixing them in with the regular music that I'm mixing in? So eventually I started mixing groups from the city. We had Illmander Trinity. We had my man from Gold From Your Mouth. He was in a group too. That was pretty good. We had Mad Dog. We had two, of course.
Smed?
Yeah. Smed used to rap.
I mean, he changed his name, but
Smed used to rap. We had Elroy that was in a group. Rest in peace to Elroy. We had different groups, man, in the city that were making noise. We had All Around Incredibles. We had Rob Jackson.
So, all right, because like you said, you had a live show. You basically putting people on. You mixing them in with industry songs, I assume.
Yeah.
But how you feel that for that to change now, for people not to be able to have that in dating? Like how did you feel when that stopped? When you just like you can't play local music like that anymore?
So let me break down commercial radio because a lot of people don't understand commercial radio. We were given freedom to do that on there, but our commercials still were coming in, so we were making what the radio station wanted. They wanted to make their money off their commercials.
Right, got to pay the bills.
We were getting that. But main commercial radio, people don't realize. They'd be like, well, why y'all play this song over and over again or this and this? Because the whole purpose of radio is for commercials. And the average listener that listens to a station might listen to a station maybe 7 to 8 minutes a day. It's rare that somebody just has a radio station on and continuously listens. Most people listen in their car.
Or if you had a job or something.
Yeah. And they don't just stay on one thing. Most people listen. So the goal is to make sure that the songs that are being played are songs that attract a large audience. Mm-hmm. And local music isn't going to attract a large audience. It's going to attract those
local.
Yeah. So people don't realize that it's basically centered around the commercials. That's why it's called commercial radio. And people be like, well, why do you play this song over and over again? Well, McDonald's still advertises like they just came out.
Yeah.
They got so many billion served, but their commercials are still on TV. Like
still double, still Big Macs.
Yeah. Every day somebody finds out about you that doesn't know anything about you. Same with McDonald's. That's how radio is. So you'll hear Destiny's Child maybe once this hour, then the next hour you hear the same song, then the next song
50 Cent.
Yeah. So it's eventually it's like it's beating your head.
Yeah, it really is though, because it'd be like this song came out years ago and it's being in rotation.
But at the time I was playing the local music on that radio, then during that time frame we had a lot of clubs and places that would do talent events or book you to do shows and stuff like that. We had Super Fresh at the Night Owl. You could go perform down there if you were a hot hip hop group, or the Aardvark. We had different spots, man, that you could go perform. Now, of course, radio's not playing you because there's 30,000 rappers out there, and a lot of them are all talking about the same thing. You got to think back then you weren't all talking about the same thing then either. It wasn't as many groups as it is now. It's the subject matter today is like ridiculously whack. So radio ain't playing that, man. It's like, so then
I mean, especially the radios here, because in Atlanta they play.
Well, you got to think people look at radio in Atlanta, but they forget most of them artists that you are hearing are local artists to them. So they be like, why we ain't doing what Atlanta? Most of them are local artists to them. They aren't known outside of Atlanta, half of them. So you got to think it's just like we had that same opportunity here. But when radio stations all start joining together and, trying to buy out each other's radio stations and
merging and all that,
and that kind of killed everything. Then you have 3 major radio conglomerates that control everything.
Right. So it's more so like you can't just point the finger at 102.9. It's the overhead that's kind of messing up.
It's people bigger than 102.9. It's a main company involved in there
that's making the decisions like this. Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people think that the radio personalities that they hear talking on the air control the music, and that is not necessarily true. A lot of the radio music is programmed by a music director or a program director, and the radio personality just talks around the music. They might add news or little bits of, things that's going on in the city or in the celebrity world around it, but they don't control that music. They're not like people call and request songs. That personality can't just be like, I'm gonna play it next like we used to do on 94.5. We could play it next. Or when I was mixing at the time, I happened to be mixing right when the Quiet Storm started. I think it was a Quiet Storm that started on WRU.
At 92.1?
Yes.
I remember that, yeah.
So 92.1. I wasn't working there yet. So, but I knew they played slow jams. But I played hip hop during my show, but I started mixing radio, R&B and slow jams with the hip hop. So you never knew what I would be playing, which also made my ratings kind of bigger because it's like
curiosity,
yeah. And then my show was live, so I would have different shout outs from people in the city. And I always interviewed celebrities, and most times I interviewed a celebrity, they were actually at the studio and not on the phone.
Right.
So after that interview, most times in the parking lot, it would be like a small crowd. They want to meet whoever we just interviewed.
Okay.
So it was nice.
I want to shout out K-Dub too, because he still be trying to have some people like, if you sing the song again mixed.
And they have a podcast also.
Killer Kev.
Killer Kev, they have a podcast also where they shine light on different local artists and things like that too. Stuff that he might not be able to do when he's live on the commercial radio station, he decided to make his own podcast and be able to do that. And podcast is very big now, compared to back in the day. We didn't have anything like that.
Right. Man, so this might be a double question, but like, okay, so back in the day, there was a lot of celebrities coming in and dating. Mm-hmm. And then just explain like the first like Fly City Fest, Black Cultural Fest. Like, explain how that was.
So let me tell you, first of all, why it was easy to get a lot of artists in the city. Back in the day, radio played more of the artists.
Mm-hmm.
So if the artist was played a lot on the radio, it was easier to get that artist to come to your market.
Right.
So the Black Cultural Festival used to be the first one was down on the river. A lot of people don't know that. It was down on the river under the part that they call Riverscape now. So it was held all along the Riverscape banks down there. They had set up their tents and their booths and everything down there. Eventually, it ended up moving to the fairgrounds, the old fairgrounds. And Cato was running it. It was really big. You had different vendors from different states, different countries. We had the radio stations. Each radio station would bring different genre of music in. WRU would bring in like hip hop. 94.5 would bring in like your crossover or pop type artists or whatever. It was always celebrities there. Like, I think WDAL might bring an old school act or something to perform. So celebrities performing. You had your different foods. You had your different vendors. Then it eventually moved to Island Park. Same thing goes on there. You have your celebrities performing, your different arts, your different African artifacts, and you have vendors. Yeah, and you also have the people teaching you knowledge about the African history as well.
So it was definitely like informal, and then you still got your musical side of everything, and it was just like
right. But the Fly City Festival is kind of like from WRU with Renita Saunders. She started the Fly City Festival. The Fly City Festival can be compared to like, say, Atlanta's radio station's Summer Jam,
right,
or Birthday Bash as they call it. That was our local Birthday Bash or Summer Jam. So each year she would bring like 10 to 12 different celebrities and mix them in with some local artists performing in between them. So it would be like an all-day event, maybe 8-hour event at Island Park. And it became big.
Like pulling the city out.
Oh, it definitely pulled the city out. It'd be thousands of people in that park. Yep. And it was easy to meet the artists sometimes. Sometimes the celebrities would get off stage and then they hang around a little bit, do their interviews with the station, and they might mingle, take a few pictures with some of the people out there that's trying to meet them, things like that. So it used to be definitely a dope situation.
Man, you think we'll ever get that back? I mean, shouts out to K Carter. He be doing his 4-day and by day, and I think he got another one coming up. But,
yeah, he got one coming up. This is coming up in this summer, I think.
May or June.
Yeah, at Riverscape.
Yep. But yeah, so do you think like we'll ever get something like that again? Like, or is it needed?
It's needed as long as it can be safe.
Okay.
This is a different generation that we live in now, so
So back then though, like it was just like, y'all had no cell phones or nothing like that. So it just
cell phones. It's
well, no cameras. I mean,
yeah.
So it just was just good vibes. Everybody out.
Yeah, you had throwaway cameras and Polaroids and things like that,
but not like
not many cell phones.
Yeah. Nah.
So if you got a picture with a celebrity, you really was the man,
right? Like,
everybody didn't have access to that.
So I want to take it back a little bit though. Cause man, you got so many pictures with so many celebrities from like different.
You do too.
Well, yeah, but you got different eras. Like I just seen you had a joint with Ice-T, and I'm just like, SKNO don't know everybody though. But when do you have a moment when like you seen it taking off? Like okay, like I'm DJ SKNO, like I'm the go-to.
I never really looked at it like that. I was having fun in the moment. So That's one thing I've been blessed to do. The craft that I like, I actually had fun. It wasn't like a job to me.
Right.
It didn't become more of a job until I got older, more into Sirius XM radio. Then that's when it was like it was a job. And then, you know, the music by then was worse. So it was like a different vibe to me.
No, I get that because what I do don't feel like a job still. But when I was doing it, it just was like I didn't even know. When I never called myself the GOAT or nothing, but I didn't know when I was coming that go-to. It just was like, all right, this shit dope, so let's shoot whatever the case is, and so I can understand that though.
So and then I want to jump back to, so what made it fun as well was you had DJ Drama in Atlanta, and he was the king of mixtapes, and I wanted to create that vibe here in the city of Dayton, Ohio. And being that I use my skills for DJing and stuff like that, but I didn't just want to do club scenes and stuff like that. So I said, well, let me take it to mixtapes. I mean, Ron Hunter did his mixtapes, the regular mixtapes with the songs on it. But I was like, well, let me do something different and do with the artists here. So I started doing mixtapes here because we weren't having shows and the radio wasn't showing support like that. So I could put the local artists on the mixtapes. Then I started doing mixtapes where it's just fully one artist on the mixtape. The whole mixtape is them, and I will host it, promote it, you know, and that will help get their buzz going as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you mentioned Drama. So was he one of the people that got you motivated to? Well, inspired to like actually start hosting and talking over songs?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
He is the one that got me.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You and him know,
Yeah.
because when he did, what was it, Trap or Die, and it was just like, man, what the hell? But yeah, because I mean, I gotta bring it up because I think the DBM, Doughboy Mafia, the way you put that together, like just hosting mixtapes, period, like. Are you the one that's putting the format of the songs next to each other, like, or are they give you?
So they give me the songs, and I kind of like lead them in which I think this should go first. I think this should go, you know, whatever. And I say you also got to keep in mind that I am DJing, so tempos and things like that, moves of the song matter. Sometimes I have them do drops in between different songs to kind of segue in between different moves or whatever. Now I'll let them choose like the song they want to be the intro or the last song on it, whatever. But pretty much I decide, hey, this is how this mixtape is going. They might give me key points on some stuff that they want mentioned.
Dreamers Welcome Podcast.